Holy crap. Hello, folks. How you doing? I am doing quite well after this week's episode, not gonna lie, that was friggin' hype. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back yet again with another one of our weekly My Hero Academia videos, and today we're here to talk all about Season 4, Episode 9, Red Riot. But hey, before we get into things proper, I do want to give a big thank you to those of you who shared last week's video over on Twitter, at Saxy23, at Janame, at FoxTun2X, at Deep Not That Deep, at Nacho Gashardo, at Isabella Copi, and at Secret Sparrow. Thank you all so much for sharing last week's video over on Twitter. It is super appreciated. And if you too would like to have your name shouted out in next week's My Hero Academia video, then feel free to share this video around on the internet and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will shout out the first 10 folks who share that week's video. Alright, so getting into it, we got a lot to dig into this week, in particular for Kirishima, but truly this was the episode all about Fat Gum's crew. It's about Fat Gum, Kirishima, and a little bit of Sun Eater, since at the beginning of the episode we follow up with what happened in the aftermath of the Sun Eater showdown. And I gotta say, Tamaki is like high up there now. Tamaki's friggin', I love that dude. And especially knowing like what he put himself through last week, seeing him now like having been like, okay, so I put some octopus poison into that punch, so it should have sent, it should be going through your system now. It's not gonna kill you, but it will slow you down, just in case you guys have any thoughts of getting back up. And I was like, oh, Tamaki being clever as shit. I love it. But then you see Tamaki like going for the door, and you could tell he's like really haggard by everything, and then he just slumps down and like completely collapses. And it's a sad moment because you're like, damn it, because on one hand I really wanted to see Tamaki like sort of stumbling through the Hasakai headquarters and eventually like find his way to Mirio, maybe for like a big moment where he like saves Mirio or something like that. I was kind of hoping for that, but at the same time, after everything that Tamaki went through last week, and I mean like holy shit. You guys saw my video last week. You know my opinions on last week, so I'm not going to reiterate it, but knowing all of that, yeah, it's no surprise that Tamaki collapses, because that dude gave 110. So if he needs a rest, the dude needs a rest, and I'm happy to let him have it. Because, yeah, like that first bout of the Hasakai versus Heroes battle, this like mini war arc, as the first battle, Tamaki totally deserves a rest. He was the victor of that first battle. If the dude needs to just take a few minutes, if he needs to take 5, you know, I don't think any of us are going to blame him. And I thought that was really clever. I also loved seeing the sort of like the downtime before the big fight between Rappa Tengai versus Red Riot and Fat Gum. That's sort of like where everybody's just trying to like regain their thoughts and everything. And we see Fat Gum and Red Riot clearly concerned for Tamaki, but at the same time, Fat Gum reminding Red Riot like, hey man, we're in hero mode right now. You're not Kirishima right now. You are Red Riot right now, and we can't. You have to trust that Sun Eater's got this. Sun Eater is strong. If he says he's gonna be okay, he's gonna be okay. I know he's shy, and he doesn't exactly have the highest, the underclassmen's concern for him sort of outweighs their trust in him. Like, not that he's like untrustworthy, but just that he's super shy, and so to them, he doesn't hold that like hero mode in the underclassmen quite as much as somebody like Mirio. So they're sort of worried about him, right? Because they're like, well, maybe he's not going to be okay. But Fat Gum knows, like, nope, he's a good man. He gave his word. He said he's going to be okay. I trust that. I have to trust that, because right now I don't have any other option but to trust that. So we're going to believe in our boy. And again, like I said at the beginning of the video, this is very much Fat Gum's like agency's episode. This is all about Fat Gum's agency. Fat Gum, Kirishima, Tamaki. Even though Tamaki's not in the episode that much, but the concern for him is in this episode, and it's all over the place. And even like sort of hint, it's not directly stated, but you can tell that in the moment where Kirishima's doubting himself, he's probably also thinking of Tamaki, because Tamaki also doubts himself quite a bit, but he still stood up. So I think that was like just another slight step to push Kirishima into action in this week's episode, because my boy really does go into action. But before we get into that, I do want to talk a little bit about how the Hasakai view overhaul, which I thought was really interesting. So we check back in with Bubble Girl and Centipeter, and the two of them are sort of talking with these Yakuza toughs, and they are serving the old leader who Overhaul seems to have taken over for. I believe that's Overhaul's, probably Overhaul's dad, or maybe his grandfather. I'd assume his dad, since Overhaul's a little bit older. And we find out that most of the Yakuza specific people, they don't really have any interest in Overhaul's like whole crusade and need to be like villainous. Like, they're not about that. They wanted to follow Overhaul's old man because they feel like he represented more of that sort of Yakuza vibe, and they resented, or at least the former leader of the Hasakai resented being viewed as a villainous organization, because he wasn't a villainous organization, or at least he wasn't leading a villainous organization. He was leading the Yakuza, and he was offended to be lumped in with that. So he wanted to avoid all connections to like the villainous sort of mindset, the villainous motif, if you will. And Overhaul has clearly embraced that. Overhaul is embracing that villainous nature that society has pushed upon the Hasakai. And I think that's interesting. It gives them quite an interesting dynamic, and it further shows why these characters were leaping into action to protect Overhaul, because it wasn't really to protect Overhaul as much as it was to protect their own necks and to protect the name of the Hasakai that they wanted to believe in again. The old man, not Overhaul. And I thought that was really cool. I like that there's this sort of interesting three-part triangle to the Hasakai. You have like the old crew, Overhaul and his villains, and then the leader. And they all sort of believe in they view the Hasakai in three separate ways. And I thought that was really neat and different. Now, I don't know the leader of the Hasakai, the former leader of the Hasakai at least, Overhaul's old man, but he's given me very much like Kazuma Kiryu vibes. I could be way off, but he's given me that like this sort of reverence for the Yakuza as more than a criminal, like a mafia type group. Like this character views the Yakuza as a necessary evil in the world, but not necessarily as like a villainous group. You know what I mean? Not like a super villain group, just like a necessary force to keep order around in things. And that's sort of how I think that's how I think these characters view their leader. I don't necessarily know if that's how the leader views the Hasakai, since he's out cold and he's in a coma, I guess, so we can't really talk to him. But I did think that was interesting, and I wanted to bring it up because it's like this episode, while the Fat Gum agency stuff is fantastic, Kirishima going off is great, I did want to specifically point that out because I thought it really added a new layer to the Hasakai as an organization, and I wanted to point that out. Also, it gave me an excuse to put Bubble Girl on the screen, since I know people like Bubble Girl. She's growing on me. That character design is ridiculous, but she is growing on me. And moving right along, we have the big fight, right? So basically, Eraserhead has pointed out that the guy who's the character whose ability is mimicry, he's clearly trying to attack Aizawa. Like, he is very clearly after Eraserhead, because if Eraserhead catches him, then he can turn off the quirk. So he purposely waits for Eraserhead to walk by, and he like juts out his hand. So like, but like not like his physical hand, like a giant hand, like concrete in the shape of a hand, to try to push Eraserhead into this area where he would be confronted by Rappa and Tengai. Although, now that I think about it, I guess that would be kind of a difficult fight for Eraserhead, but I do feel like he probably could handle it. Aizawa, my husbando's like an S-tier, S-tier hero as far as I'm concerned. I feel like he could probably handle the two of them, but he would need help. But I can't see somebody maybe jumping in after him. Maybe, I don't know, like Deku or something. But what I did appreciate is that Fat Gum is immediately like, no, we need Eraserhead for the rest of the fight, so I'm gonna jump in the way, and I'll get knocked into whatever this room is. But at the same time, Kirishima has the same thought, and he leaps forward, and they both get launched into this room. So now it is Shield and Spear versus Shield and Shield. At least that's what the bad guys think. And yeah, this is where we get Fat Gum and Red Riot versus Rappa and Tengai. And Rappa and Tengai as villains are rather interesting. I gotta say, Rappa looks like he's straight out of Guilty Gear. Like, that dude is the most Guilty Gear looking character I have seen thus far. Doesn't he look like he could fit right in? Like he'd be throwing hands with Saul Bad Guy or something? It really does look like that. He looks like he'd be Soul's friend or something. He looks like he goes to the bar with Bad Guy and just hangs out. If you don't know what Guilty Gear is, educate yourself. I ain't gonna explain it. But Tengai is, by comparison, a little less fun. Like, he's more of the stoic type. I don't really have much of an opinion on him. I thought his character design was sort of bland, whereas Rappa is much more energetic. His character design's a little bit more fun. Tengai's a little bit more subdued. Character design's a little bit more boring. I think that is meant to like properly balance with Rappa, because if you had two really loud character designs, it would sort of contrast and it would make Rappa less intimidating. So I think it was smart to make Tengai look the way he does. It's just by comparison to Rappa, he's not quite as fun. But still, the fight itself that these two take part in is fantastic. And I actually like really liked seeing Fat Gum get some shine, because it's a nice reminder that, like, yeah, he's a top tier hero. So he probably could have handled himself just fine in this moment, but it's still thanks to Kirishima that gives him the moment, the ability to launch the spear. Like, Kirishima buys him that little bit of extra time, and I thought that was really cool. But before we get into the big finish of the episode and what I think about the fight overall, I do want to bring up Kirishima's broken spirit and the flashback that follows, because Kirishima in this moment is absolutely mortified. When he goes up against Rappa like launches this big attack on him, like this big heavy punch, and it actually shatters the hardening on Kirishima's arms, and you see like the red, I was gonna say the Red Riot. You see the redness under his arms, as like for a second I thought he blasted away the skin or something. It looked gnarly. And this season has really been heavy on the blood and violence, and honestly, I'm kind of here for it. I like when my hero gets, I don't want to say dark, but when it gets a little bit more grim and situations are a little bit more intense than they normally have been. It's more fun, and I gotta say, if this is all Season 4 was, if it was just this raid against the Hasakai, this would still be my favorite season, because it has been absolutely phenomenal just for the action and seeing these characters get put through the ringer. Like, you really see Kirishima get a trial by fire in this moment. His confidence is truly shaken. His nerves of steel have become melted in the face of somebody who's able to just one punch overpower him. And that broken spirit is what eventually leads to the flashback. And I thought the flashback was fantastic. Seeing where Kirishima came from by comparison to where he is now is intense stuff. And you really feel for him. Like, you really, really feel for Kirishima. In this moment, this is the most, well, for lack of a better word, broken we have seen him. Diamond is truly unbreakable, but sometimes you can shake it, and truly Red Riot was shaken to his core in this week's episode. But like I said, that sort of triggers the flashback, and we see Mina. We understand now why Mina was in the flashback a couple episodes ago, because I thought that was weird. I was like, what is Mina doing here? And now we finally see that they actually went to middle school together. I believe it's middle school. In Canada, we don't have middle school, so every time they mention middle school, I'm sort of thrown off. I don't know, either way, I'm assuming it's middle school that they both went to at the same time. And Kirishima is very different looking. He has long black hair that sort of sags down on the sides. It's just sort of, he's just growing it out. He doesn't style it like he does later on down the line. It's just sort of, like, he just sort of leaves it. And it was interesting because, and I think again, this is a credit to Horikoshi, because the choice in color is very interesting, because normally Red Riot or Kirishima, the version of him that we see is like red and vibrant and really bright and like full. Like, red is it's an aggressive color, but it's also a very confident color. So that's like the vibe you get from Kirishima. It's this very like energetic, vibrant color to him that really, it's perfect for his character design because it's perfect for his personality. Whereas past Kirishima, he's just sort of there. Like, he has a basic sort of school outfit and just basic black hair that's long. So it almost covers his face. And I think that was purposely done because black as a color is it can either be a mysterious color or a sort of depressing color. And I feel like it's meant to be a little bit of both in that design, because I feel like what Horikoshi's trying to get across is that he feels Kirishima in this moment feels sort of like lost. He's not sure what he wants to be or what he wants to do. He knows that he wants to be like his idol, Crimson Riot, but he doesn't know how to do that, and he's really shaken when he sees the situation where he could have stepped in to save two of his classmates from what is seemingly a villain. I'm not too sure what was up with that, but he could have jumped in to save these two, but his fear froze him in place, whereas Mina darted in front, gave the dude the directions that he asked for, and the guy just walked away. So Mina is the one who ultimately saves these two. And I feel like in that moment, because he's so shaken, you see why the character design is the way it is, because it's meant to show that he's sort of depressed, he's feels lost and confused, and like black as a color typically shows like mysteriousness, depression, stuff like that. So I like a sort of confusion and like that sort of mist kind of feel, like you know, like where you're feeling like you're walking through a haze. I feel like that is Kirishima in the flashback, and his character design properly reflects that, at least for me. I know I like to talk about color theory and character design and stuff like that. Normally I have like the color theory like list on the side of the microphone, but I don't know where it went. I misplaced it, so I could have gone into better detail than I did, but I hope I went into enough. I really like color theory. I like trying to speculate on what the character design and the color choices, the color design, what that means to, or what that's reflecting in the character. I always think that's really fun. Am I probably overreaching? Yeah, a little bit, but it's part of the flashback that I liked. The fact that Kirishima, as a character, when he grew as a character, so did his appearance, so did his character design and color design, and I thought that was really neat. And I have to give my props to Horikoshi for that, because again, I just think that's phenomenally done. And the flashback ending with Crimson Riot saying like you have to charge in because you'd be foolish not to be scared. Everybody gets scared, but you charge in anyway and you save the day, because that's what I believe a hero is supposed to do. And this triggers Kirishima to sort of lunge forward, to hero up, and he jumps into the fray once more. And this is the culmination of Rappa and Tengai versus Red Riot and Fat Gum. And this fight, and this might be a controversial opinion, I don't really know how people are going to respond to the episode, since I am literally, like, I am watching it. I haven't even looked up what other people think at the moment. So I don't know what people are going to say about it. And I don't know how people are going to take what I'm about to say, but I think that this fight is on par with All Might versus Nomu. Not that it goes as long as All Might versus Nomu, but that hype moment, that moment of like when you hear the line like, "You may have heard these words before, but I'll teach you what they really mean," like that moment. And I had the same moment of hype when Fat Gum shouted at the two villains, like, "You and I both underestimated the hero Red Riot." And I was like, yeah! And it was this awesome moment. And Fat Gum looks like a friggin' boss in that scene too. Fat Gum takes some damage in this. Like, he really holds his own against Rappa. And I think his quirk is friggin' dope, because we know that he has that sort of absorption ability. Like, that's not new. We knew this. But the fact that he can actually take all of that absorbed energy and then turn it into one big attack. And he says, like, this is the spear that's gonna pierce through any shield. And it's thanks to Kirishima that he's able to use it. And that moment of him, like, just powering through the shield, that moment is so badass. And after the episode finished, I kind of wish that he just said, like, because it made me think of this. Like, I wish he was like, "Never speak to me and my son again." Did anybody else have that thought? Because I did. It's such a dope scene, and like, it's such a phenomenally done scene, and like the way it just, it's so friggin' cool. It's just great. Another cool thing about that scene is that when you see Fat Gum use his ability, he actually like slims down, and I was like, whoa! Like, it took me a second to be like, oh, that's the same dude. Holy shit, Fat Gum, that's kind of crazy. Like, his quirk is so friggin' unique and interesting. I thought that was really, really cool. And again, this whole episode just serves as this sort of, like, Fat Gum agency episode. It's all about the members of Fat Gum's agency, Kirishima, Tamaki, Fat Gum. And Fat Gum getting to play, like I said earlier, like the "never speak to me and my son again," like the sort of mentor, father-like figure. I want to say more mentor, because he doesn't say anything necessarily father-like, but as the mentor figure in this episode, he shines. And he, like, don't get me wrong, Kirishima's the one who shines the brightest in this episode. He is truly, like, you better remember the name, Red Riot, because, like, that's the whole episode. But at the same time, the fact that all three members get some moment in the spotlight in this episode had me really impressed. It also has me a little bit worried, because I feel like we won't see those three for the rest of the arc, because they basically all served like their roles already. They basically all fought one big villain, or two big villains, or three big villains when I think about it. So they all had like their individual fights, so I feel like they're probably going to be out cold for the rest of the arc. Which is too bad, because I really like those characters. But if this was like their big moment in this arc, I'm okay with that. And with that said, everybody, I am going to wrap up my thoughts here. Now, folks, I'm pretty sure you know this already, but I am a simple man. When I see a Kirishima-focused episode, I give it an S. I know that the last few weeks I've been giving out a lot of S ranks to a lot of different shows, but what can I say? It's been a good couple weeks of anime, especially leading into the winter season. And yes, I will continue to be talking about My Hero into the winter season. It's just been a good time, especially with My Hero. Okay, it's just been a good time in the anime community, and I'm still having a blast making these. So, what can I say? And that's gonna do it for today's video, everybody. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Before we go, as always, I have to give a big shout out to the good folks over on Patreon, namely those in the Earl Grey tier: Calvin Atkinson, Crowbar of Irony, Ionos, Urza, Ginkotaku, Godzilla Fan, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Mirth Mouser, Cell, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Somastan, Steven, Sukochi, Tristan, and Verdun. Thank you all so much for your continued support over on Patreon. It is so appreciated. And if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then be sure to check out the first link in the description to check out our Patreon page, see all the cool rewards you can get over there, as well as access to our Patreon exclusive Discord. But with all that said, everybody, I am going to take off. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you are feeling stressed out today, then you go have yourself a warm cup of tea. And I will talk to you all again real soon.